Hey there. Well, Thursday. How about Thursday? So, continuing my ruminations from the last story about summer kids, this is Summer Kids 2 from the summer of '06 when I wrote it. Um, I can move from memories planted by family storytellers, mainly my dad, to my personal recollections. I hope you've all found out who your family storyteller is and got them on tape or transcribed some of their stories. On 17 July 1944, the Red Wing and the 18-foot Seawolf, two sailboats of the East Dennis Yacht Club, were underway for Orleans across Cape Cod Bay, manned by 7 young men of the club. My dad was the captain of the 12-foot-long catboat Red Wing. Delayed by the storm, Saturday, the boys postponed their annual trip to Provincetown until 6:30 a.m. Monday, when they set sail on the first lap of their voyage. Les Sears Jr., age 15, Dave Sears, George Thackeray on the Red Wing, and Bob King and Norman and Thomas Clark on the Seawolf started the voyage, and William Mullins joined them at Orleans. The boys slept aboard the boats Monday night off Orleans, and Tuesday tried to sail to the Cape Tip, where they would remain for several days. Life gets more interesting because on Tuesday, 18 July, becalmed 2 miles offshore, they were towed into Wellfleet Harbor by a Wellfleet Sea Clam dragger after leaving Rock Harbor that morning on the second leg of their trip. They finally anchored in P-Town Harbor at 10:30 p.m. Wednesday night. Nancy Snow Sears was part of that summer gang of kids and later married Dave. We were very sad to read of her recent passing. I guess girls were probably not allowed on such swashbuckling adventures. Dad and the others were charter members of the East Dennis Yacht Club, and I doubt there were very many boats in Seward Harbor in those days. I've always treasured the attached picture of the yacht Red Wing taken in Seward Harbor at low tide in 1944. One of the challenges of summer was to see how long you could go without a bathtub. Bathing daily at the beach in salt water would wash the dirt away. When you became too salt encrusted to stand yourself anymore, a trip to Scargo Pond was in order for warm, freshwater bathing session. I've been regaled with many tales of frostbite sailing, so I'm sure that these kids did not stop their activities just because school started. Probably the best skills my dad ever taught me were how to sail and how to row. Dad acquired his first boat when about 4 or 5. It was an old rowboat that wouldn't have a hope of floating, but that doesn't stop a summer kid with a couple of oars and an imagination. As a summer kid myself, my earliest memories are from the Cape. I was sailing in the Red Wing out of Sassuat Harbor before I was even born. I'm not sure how Dad convinced my mom to go sailing when 8 months pregnant. Maybe that's why I've never been seasick and love the water so much. I built my own catboat here in Oklahoma City to keep my hand in family traditions. Dad worked hard to convince Mom that I should be born on the Cape to keep those bloodlines pure, but it was not to happen. On graduating Milton, Massachusetts High School in 1945, Dad spent a year at Boston University and in 46, 47 was in the Navy to see the world. Back at BU with the GI Bill, Dad and Mom met at the Lambda Chi Alpha fraternity function. After graduating, the Korean War mobilized ROTC reservists, and Dad became part of the U.S. Army Field Artillery, called away from the Cape again. But then stationed at Fort Devens with my dad being shipped out to Germany, it was too much to make the trip on my birthday to try to make me a real Cape Codder. Dad had to go AWOL from his ship in New York, heading for Germany, just to make it up to Fort Devens Army Hospital for my arrival at the end of July. While Dad was at Camp Edwards, Mom worked for Dean Sears, the elected Register of Deeds over in Barnstable, and often moderator of Dennistown meetings. He gave her a ride to work from East Dennis every morning, and I think he took a liking to Mom and really looked out for us while Dad was in Germany. So I did get to spend my first 6 months on the Cape. Mom and I headed for Germany in December, but we missed our first flight because a huge snowstorm delayed our trip from our home in Massachusetts to New York City. We finally flew to Germany to meet up with Dad in the dead of winter, January 1953, with a stopover in Reykjavik, Iceland, to get some more fuel and some reindeer milk for me. Dad was waiting in Frankfurt and had no clue where we were. When we finally showed up 2 days later, the telegram he sent to his folks in East Dennis said, "All safe and well, Les, Claire, and Ray, Frankfurt, Germany, Friday, January 16th, 1953, 9:30 o'clock p.m." I guess our family is famous for making trips that get delayed by weather. Our family didn't make it to the Cape during the next 3 years, except for my dad's emergency leave when Grandpa died of a heart attack while playing chess with Scott Corbett. But the moment we got back to the US, we never missed a summer vacation on the Cape. I learned a great deal about how to be a Cape Codder during those summer visits. The drive down to the Cape from wherever we lived, whether Massachusetts, Virginia, Kansas, or Texas, was always exciting, and we sang songs during the whole trip. The sight of the Sagamore Bridge peeking above the tree line was the biggest thrill of all. We'd finally arrived. The first order of business after staking out a bedroom in the big old house was to explore the barn, the game shed in the backyard that had an ancient pool table, supposedly used for entertainment by the men at the Shivert shipyards, and the nooks and crannies of old Grandpa Smalley house known as the Cedars. In the kitchen was a large soapstone sink with a large hand pump at the end. The pantry was stocked to the brim by my grandmother for our arrival. There was a big old closet in the kitchen which was full of rain slickers, fishing hats, boots, lariats, fishing tackle, and old tools. Hanging on the door of that closet was the latest Old Farmer's Almanac, and we would search for the next full moon and extreme low tide to plan our sea clamming expedition. Why is it those extreme low tides are always at 6 a.m.? The next order of business was to get the boat in the water. We didn't have a trailer, so Dad would find someone who could haul the boat out of the barn and down to Sissuit Harbor. Dad would check with the harbor master to be sure our traditional mooring spot was available. With extreme tides in Sissuit Harbor, sometimes changing more than 11 feet, you cannot just tie a boat to shore. It would spend many hours each day high and dry. Instead, you set a mushroom anchor about 20 feet from shore with a pulley and a post on shore with another pulley. Then you can pull the boat to shore or out to the harbor mooring, clothesline style. The post on the shore was always made from a cedar tree that we cut up on the hill behind the house. I can still revel in the wonderful smell of those trees. Cedar would not rot and was strong enough to safely keep the boat in check. When you first arrived at the harbor and hauled the boat in from its mooring, you checked to see how much water was in the boat. You always took a taste of the water in the boat to see if it was fresh rainwater or salty water from a leak. Then you had to bail using a tin scoop or the pump to get her dry. Oh, how I love the smell of that mixed oil and gas fuel as it fired up our Johnson 10-horse outboard motor. I can never remember that motor failing us, but even so, we had a set of oars and oar locks in case of emergency. There was a small deck over the bow of the boat, and on an extreme windy, cold morning, you could hide out in there under some slickers to try and stay warm. Of course, Dad was back in the stern, outboard tiller in hand, keeping us safe. We motored out to the clam beds at low tide and learned to find the blowholes indicating a sea clam had sprayed water with drops on the surrounding sand. Pressure from your foot near the hole would make the clam squirt seawater again, confirming his location. Dad taught us to find sea worms on the beach so we could fish for flounder in the mouth of Sissuit Harbor. Boy, can those sea worms bite if you're not careful when handling them. We even learned how to attack razor clams, rundowns, by digging in from the side of the marsh to catch them as they tried to escape, sometimes running right out of their shell. My dad and grandpa loved the sweet taste of razor clams and would eat them raw right there on the beach. They're a little too salty for me, and I'm sure the shellfish warden would frown today at someone shucking clams on the beach. We learned to catch mackerel with hand lines trolled from the stern of the boat. We kept our fish in a wire mesh basket that looked like chain mail. The basket had a small neck with a spring-loaded flapper and a large belly, but folded flat when not in use. I still love the taste of mackerel and bluefish. I'm not sure where Americans got their taste for bland whitefish. I guess it was the codfish industry, but dark meat of those lovely fish is delicious. We had fun trying for sea bass around Tautog Rock. One of the treats of our summer vacation was a visit to Sam Nickerson over on Bumps River in Centerville. Sam would take us out in his boat after stripers, king of the Cape sport fish. Fishing, clamming, pool, skittles, berry picking, beach combing, swimming in those cold north side waters off Cold Storage Beach and C Street Beach are all events that are indelibly etched in my memory. Keep your eye out for the beach plum blossoms in the dunes so you know where to return at the end of summer to pick plums. I look forward to sharing a few recollections in the final issue of the 35th anniversary volume. Just a quick share of the screen here. So that you can hopefully see my cousins and I, at least four of us, two more would arrive later, my grandmother in the back corner, and then the pool house where we played all the games, about 1955. Well, thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you soon.